Good morning. Today is the 6th of May 2024, a bank holiday here in the UK. So the UK market was closed, but we've seen a bit of a strong pre-market. But we'll see what today goes. Before we start, let's take a look at the news and see what could be moving the market today. Nothing major apart from we've got 12:50 and 1 o'clock. We've got some Fed speakers, and so just be a bit wary at those times. Okay, so levels for today. Before we start, let's go into the higher time frame and just have a quick recap on last week. And let's open up my pen. Here we go. So I currently got some fib levels sitting here from recent all-time highs down to this recent low, and you can see we held the 50%, broke down, came back, held it, and then we broke through. So we're now above the 50% of the fibs, with the 618 just above at 5200 area. That's 5192s on, it's the level, but 5200 is a psychological number as well, so we'll keep an eye on that on the daily and weekly. Also, if we draw a level in around 5200, you can see it's a bit of an area of confluence as well. We've got tops of candles and we've got a few bottoms or bodies of candles, bottoms and bodies there as well, and we held it here as well. So 5200 is an important area to watch, and it happens to be the 618 fibs as well, so we could expect to see a bit of a rejection up there, so watching 5200. As for volume, we've had quite a bit of volume coming in on this sell-off side of the market, and then it's kind of been below average volume apart from a couple of days where we had slightly above average. We had above average volume on this big topping tail or hammer candle, which if it was up here it would be a sign of weakness, but it's a bit of a indecision. If you took the 2 days together, it's kind of an indecision candle because we pushed up, came down, and the second day we came up, so that's kind of that area there. I'd like to take the average. Broken that pivot as well, so we are looking a bit more bullish on the daily. Let's just drop down to the 4 hourly and the hourly next and get some levels. So you can see we're coming into the 618. That's kind of an area I'm watching. New high. Let's go to the hourly because that's where my levels are. So before, I just want to draw in a trend line first, just so you can see. I'm not a big fan of that big bottom tail. It's quite hard to draw a trend line on this chart, but we are in a bit of an uptrend. And what I will do, actually, let's just put in the trend at the bottom there. Kind of, yeah, not a big fan of it. If we were to zoom out a bit, we can see a better trend line we can watch. And I did have it in place before, this area here. I'm not even a big fan of that. Let's just see what the next pivot. I like to use more recent pivots for the trend line. So let's go through some levels. So we talked about the 618, which is the 5200 area. So I do quite like this area for a rejection, and I do want to put a bit of a supply zone up there just as a reminder. That's the area we're watching. That's 5212 down to 5200 area. 618 is just below as well, and we've got a volume shelf on the, let's just zoom out a bit. You can see we've got a bit of volume up there as well, so it could act as resistance as well. So that level, so today if we can get up into this area, I do quite like this area because you can see we had a big reaction there when we came down. We sold off to that area, big reaction back up, sold off to that area, big reaction back up, and then through, came back up into that area again, and we had this big reaction down, and we haven't got back to that area yet. So 5200 and that area of supplies, the area I'm watching for rejection, probably from 5192, this area here where the 618 is, and we've got the 618, and you can see the volume on this. It's not the point of control because the volume, the main point of control is down here. That's where we've got all the extra volume. So that's We're coming to that area in a second. So I do quite like this area's natural resistance above as well. So we could see a bit of a watch for a rejection around 5200. I'm going to keep it quite open because it's quite a big area to watch. Okay, so and then that's the only reject I can see. Bounce wise, I really want to see it come down into this previous area of demand, 5140 to 5146, and we've got the 50% fibs at 5148. So that's the area I'm watching for a bounce. And you can see we've got all this area consolidation where it just couldn't get above the 50% fibs, and we've got a pivot coming down here as well. And I'm sure if we zoom out, we've probably got a bit more, and a few pivots and a bit of volume around this area as well. So it's quite a decent area to watch. So I'm watching 51, let's say 5150, because that's more of a round number, that area for a bounce. But I'll be watching right down to 5140, so that's a $10 area. Next bounce area will be where the 50%, the 50, the hourly 50 moving average is, and that's Friday's low and also the FOMC highs, this area here. We've been watching for a while. We came in last week, we talked about going long at that point, which I did, and that was at 51.28. I'll leave the fibs up from that data candle on Friday as well, because it may come into play again, especially the 50% if we come back down. I don't have a strategy for it yet, but it'd be useful as a guide to watch it coming into that area. That's 51.51. So 51.50 for a bounce, and then coming down to this lower end, yesterday's low. I quite like 51.30, 51.28 for a bounce, and especially if it's coming off of their area of confidence as well. Tops of candles, tops, bottoms, bottoms, tops and bottoms. So a big area of confidence. And that's it really. I'm going to keep it really simple today. Wait for break of trend. That's what I was just trying to find, if there's a trend. There is a trend, you can see that, but you can't really put it in as a line. I'm just seeing whether I can just put it in like something like that. Oh, let's just move that down here. So we could watch this area here. Let's use that pivot there. So I prefer using more recent pivots than older pivots, but obviously the more pivots it touches, the better it is. So if we do break this trend line, we can maybe, I don't really want to see it. I don't really want to do a short round here. If we can get below, there's so much resistance, there's so much support below, it's hard to even find a rejection. I don't like the rejections. Maybe a break and retest of the trend line short we can watch for a scalp. 51.75 area, maybe 51.70. But I'm not a big fan of it. I really want to see it, but I do want to see it pull back into this area. So I'm kind of expecting it to break that trend line just to get back down into that area for a bounce. I think the higher probability play is the bounce down to 51.40 to 51.50. Higher risk rejection would be pre-market eye area as it breaks through, maybe retest the trend line back down. And then we've got the bounce down here. That's a higher probability bounce off of the FOMC, and maybe this algorithm is still sitting down there as well, waiting to go long. And any traders who missed their longs there, and they've still got their orders in place ready to go long. So that's it really. Excuse me. So just to recap quickly, I like the rejection over at 5200, 618 fibs area. And obviously I quite like the break of the trend as well. So if it's holding this trend as it's coming up and it breaks down, comes back up and retests, that would be a great short. That would be the ideal short I'd be looking for. If we break the trend sooner, it's a higher risk rejection, and then there's a bounce area at 51.50, and I will consider 5100 as well as a cycle. That's been an area we've been watching. It's held it there, lots of volume down there on this point of control. You can see quite a lot of volume, quite a big reaction in that area as well. So 5100, 5120 is the fibs, is the FOMC high in this area of confidence, and then 5150 for bounce. They're the only areas. I favour a bounce more than I favour a rejection, but if we do get up here, I do quite like the idea of a rejection. And I'll keep that trend line in place, and maybe today we might just drift up, get into this area, go sideways, break and retest, and then come down. And maybe we could be setting up for the bounce down here as well if that's the case. Okay, let's look at SPY next. SPY's the same. I've got that area 515 for a rejection area. Not much volume there. Volume kind of tails off a little bit. But also 518 to 519 for a rejection. So they're the two areas I quite like. Rejection wise, let's just mark that one in. Bounces, 510, 26 for a bounce. That's the tops of this area. Same as what we looked up on ES. And 508.50 for a bounce, and that's maybe a little bit lower if we come back down into this area. So let's just bring it down a bit, kind of. So FOMC, area consolidation, bottoms and tops of pivots as well. So 507 to 508 for a bounce. NQ next. Oh, it's a bit messy. I need to clean up these charts a bit. Clean it up a bit now. I quite like this area of supply at 18,336, 18,300, psychological number as well. I also like the 18,200 area for rejection. That's just an area of confluence, and its volume profile. The point of control is just above as well, but I prefer it further up at 18,300 area. I'm going to get rid of that. I'll keep an eye on it, but I want to. We've got this big void, and I think we could see a big reaction like we did last time up that area. That's what I'll be waiting for. Bounce wise, Friday's low area 17,900. I quite like that for a bounce, and then I like 17,795 for a bounce. I'm just going to tidy the rest up a bit, and I'm going to start just drawing the lines when we're getting closer to them, because the chart's been getting messy recently. And then trend line, we can probably put that trend line in there, poke through. You know, the trend line's subjective really, just trying to find the most touches. I've got a magnet turn on, it's a bit annoying, let's turn that off. Right, that's better. So we can watch that area for a bounce as well if we come back down, which is 17,700, kind of the area we looked at as well. So two areas really. I'm not a big fan of the trend line. I like to see whether there's any other more recent pivots. Let's clone it. It does fit in quite nicely with those pivots there. Maybe it's just a little bit short of the highs, but maybe that's a target area we can watch coming in. And I do like to clone the trend line, so go top of that pivot, tops all these pivots, and we haven't quite put in the high yet, so maybe by the time we get up there we could be watching this area for rejection. Let's go on to QQQ next. Again, quite a lot of levels, but I'll just focus on the more recent ones. The point of control at 438 when I zoomed in. Just zoom out a bit. Yeah, still there. 440. I'd like 440 to 442 for rejection. This area. Let's just draw. I do like when I see a area supply. Let's just draw it in. That area there. So I'm watching that area for rejection. Bounce wise, 433.06. You can see tops of these candles, bottoms of these pivots as well. Not a great deal amount of volume in that area. All the volume's above, so all this area acts as resistance if we see a bit of a rejection. And then if we get down to 423, I quite like the bounce down that area as well still. That's the level from Friday. SPX, so 5100 for a bounce, that area I quite like. It's a round psychological number. 5174 to 5180, kind of this is where we were looking at last week. all the way up to 5200. So this area we can watch a couple of areas there for rejection. Can I fine tune that? Yeah, maybe we watch 51.72, and that's near the top of that candle. Tops of pivots here, bottoms of pivots, and tops and bottoms of candles over here as well. So that's an area I like for rejection, and if I do see it coming to these areas, then I'll be watching ES to see where that is, and I'll be taking it on ES. And if I can see SPX is coming into resistance and ES is already broken resistance, then I won't want to go short, because I don't want to be going short into support. For example, we'll probably be getting close to this area anyway. Okay, so that's SPX. Excuse me. I've got a bit of a croaky throat. I was out camping this weekend, hiking and wild camping. I say wild camping loosely. It wasn't really that wild, but I'm starting to feel the fresh air in the back of my throat now. And then let's find a bounce area. Yeah, 5100 for the bounce, psychological number. I do like that area still. We've still got 5000 down here as well. That's it. Nothing's really much changed since last week on SPX. Crude oil. Okay, that trend line's well and truly broken. We're kind of slowing down. Look at the volume starting to reduce down at the bottom now as well. Let's look at this at the daily. So daily into the 200. We could see a bit of a bounce around here. We've got the point of control directly below as well. And funny how the point of control goes through the daily area of confluence as well. You can see bottoms of candles and tops of candles. Tops again, you know, had a few that just breaks through. Happens to be all the volume is. So if we do break it, yes, Friday's low 78, then we can watch 76 to 77 for a bounce. That's using the volume, point of control, and the area of confluence on the daily. Let's go back into hourly. You know, potentially we are looking at a bit of a head and shoulders pattern forming. Left shoulder, head, maybe this is the right shoulder coming soon. So we can see it come down to pre-market low. If it turns, we can watch for a potential reversal. If we watch this 200, this 50 moving average, which is the red line coming into Friday's high, it looks like it's starting to curve around. And let's change that to red. So if that's starting to curve around, keep an eye on that. And then if we can break above it, let's give it that line. Give it that line. There we go. So if we can put it back to yellow, if we can then break above it, come back in and retest that area pre-market high, then we can look for a long, and that will confirm this change of volume. This could just be seller buyer exhaustion, seller exhaustion at the bottom, where we're declining volume. You know, you can see the volume pivots on each of these areas of supply. So high volume, high volume, high volume, again high volume, but we've got reducing volume as well. So that's exhaustion in the market. So next we can probably just put in a couple of trend lines. So we've got that range, we've probably got this range. So these are the areas. So if we can see it break out of these areas, we can look for a bit of a change in trend. And if it breaks down below this area, then it's just a redistribution. So you've got a distribution area up here where it goes sideways for a bit and then breaks down. And then this could be another redistribution, because that was kind of broken down from there, then gone sideways, broken down again, then going sideways. So we could see the same type of thing, but it needs to get over 79.50 really, break above it, come back down and retest that area. So we can keep an eye on this. If we can get below 78, then we can watch for a bounce. And let's just zoom out and see if there's a decent area. Probably the areas have already got marked up. And 77.50 to 78 for a bounce. And then a rejection. We've got a new area. In fact, let's just put that in. I don't know why I've not got that in. Got tops of candles, bottoms of candles, and we kind of came back, broke it, retested it, broke it, broke down, came back, got close to retesting. So we can watch 79 82 to 80 for a potential rejection, and that's all I can see really. You can see where we went sideways, broke down, came back, retested that area, this area up here, so that's a decent area for a retest. I remember talking about this a few weeks, was it end of last week, and then broke down, so great. You can see the head and shoulders as well, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, that area there, and then the break of the shoulder, retest and back down. So hopefully we can catch something going back up again, or a bit of a change of trend. But we are coming into lots of volume now. So we've got all this volume on the point of control, and it's going to be hard to break through all of this support below. But we can watch it, that's why we might be seeing a bit of a change of trend. So let's just recap the levels on oil. If we can get down to pre-market low and it starts reversing, then we can watch for a bounce. If it pushes through pre-market low, yesterday's low, then we could see continuation of this. It's still in a downtrend at the moment. We need it to break over this area, which is be 79.50 to 80 really. That's the area we want to see it push up. Let's change the trend. Okay, so let's look at gold next. One thing I'll do that when I get back later. I generally like to put alerts in as well. So if we come back down into that area, I just want to draw my attention. If I'm not watching it, then I can watch it. And I'll do a break over pre-market high as well. So I've got two alerts on crude oil, gold. So we've broken the 200 moving average, and we closed above it recently. That's in the pre-market. Got this area of confidence just here, more recent. Plenty of volume, tops of candles, bottoms of candles, come back in, retesting tops of candles. So we need to break over pre-market high and close above it. So watch for a break and retest a pre-market high, and that will be potentially setting up this bit of a change of trend as well. So break, retest, long, and that's 23.37. Break and retest. I'll get rid of that orange one, don't need that in there now as a test. And be wary though, we have got a bit of volume, we've got the point of control just above as well, so we are trying to go long into that volume area. So zoom out a bit. Yeah, still there, so you've got quite a big area of confidence in that area as well, so it's got to be a big push. How much it moving a day? I'm just trying to work out whether that longwood is going to be decent risk to reward or not. A better trade will be if it comes back down into this area, into pre-market and the highs of Friday, pre-market lows from today for a bounce. So we can watch 23.22 as well. And that'll give us better risk to reward if we can pull back down and push up. And then that will probably might give us the extra momentum then to break over through that point of control we were just seeing. Where was it? About here, wasn't it? Yeah, at 23.50, 23.41 area, 23.45. That's it really. So we'll keep an eye on that. RTY looking strong. Look at that. So don't like the break and retest of pre-market high because it's quite extended away from the 50, the 200, and even the 8. I think it's come back in. Zoom in. Okay, it's come back down to the 8. But what would be better would be a retest of the recent highs. So this area here, it's an area of confidence as well. So I like 20.33 for a bounce, and we can still watch this area up here. This is an area of supply, so we're going to put that in. And the reason I like it is because we had a big reaction to that point. So if we get back up into the 2100 area, we can watch for rejection. We have got the point of control volume area as well, so I'm going to draw this zone in because these two both stick out the most. Oh god, what's going on there? Let's change that. Draw it again. So what I'm doing, taking the two volume bars there to give us a bit of a zone, which happens to be just immediately below. So we can watch 2100 for a rejection, knowing that we have got overhead supply here. You can see the same supply in that area, and we've got the point of control here in big volume around that area as well, and there's an area of confluence as well. I'm not sure where that level 2087. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to move that because I want to be watching that area there. So 21, I've got 2100 basically. That's the only rejection, and the only bounce is 2033 down to 2020 for a bounce. This area here. And also you've got 2000, which is a psychological number to watch for a bounce. And then lastly, YM. I say lastly, but we've got Bitcoin after as well. Again, we're not as extended, but maybe a break and retest of Friday's high, pre-market high on this one. It's not as much resistance above. We've got this kind of void. In fact, I do quite like the long break and retest of pre-market high. I think that's the area to watch. Look at this level. We had this level in for a bit. Friday came in, touched it, rejected it. Look at that. And then today we finally broke out. So if we can come back down and retest Friday's highs, we can watch for a long, maybe even pre-market low in that area for a long. But if I had to find a decent pullback where there's confluence, it's got to be around this area. And what I'm looking at over to the left is tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots, bottoms of pivots, kind of consolidated there, big reaction. Look at that. I was only looking over there and it kind of just comes in line. Big reaction we got there again. So if it gets into 38, what's the levels at? 38,800 for a bounce. I know it's 38,805, but it's a zone, not a line. So this area we can watch for a bounce. I quite like that. So not far off pre-market low. And we've got the upward trending 50 moving average coming into it as well. So we could, all that will act as its own type of support. And then let's just look at Bitcoin, and then I'll briefly go back over the levels. So Bitcoin sold off last week, came back up, hovering in this area. What's the volume like? Let's go to the daily. Putting in this daily downtrend. I do quite like what I'm seeing here. Volume, top intel, kind of unsure if I draw a trend line. Okay, not a great trend line. But you know, trend lines are just, again, zones. So it's broken out, came back. So if we can hold this trend line down, quite fancy it, selling off back down to the 50,000 area. But if we can hold, if we hold above this trend line, then we might just see a bit of sideways movement, maybe a retest of the highs again. I'll keep that trend line in place. But the bounce here I'm really watching for is probably this area here, about 50. Zooming out. I'm going to go in, I'm going to readjust it, I think, to about there. Let's put 50 in. Where's that one? What's that look like? That's better, yeah. Right on the 200 moving average. I was kind of thinking it might be close to the bottoms of these pivots, so let's just bring it up again. So 50,500 is the area I'm hoping to target if it continues this trend down. Reducing volume. Look at this. This is classic volume price analysis. Price is increasing, volume is reducing, and which is why I quite like this rejection up here. It's showing that there's exhaustion in buyers and there's just no interest in buyers. So we could expect to see it come back down. And we've also got an area of volume in that area there. So it's an arrow. So let's draw that one in as well. This area is kind of like a resistance area where it's higher volume, little shelves of volume. So we can watch that. And it's already rejected once up there, and it's come back in, rejected it again. So let's keep an eye on that. And I think that's it. Let's just quickly look at ES again. Market's just opened. That's it. So next up will be the order flow stream. So if you want to trade order flow, and it looks a bit like this, that's my order flow screen, and see a bit of absorption up here at the moment. Looks like it might want to sell off. I'll keep an eye on that. Right, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to be notified when the live streams come off, and hit the like button as well. I appreciate that. Okay, thank you for watching.